Hello everyone. Today I wanted to go over something pretty simple, something that all of us do. I wanted to go over just my workflow when developing my game. It's something I'm still refining, it's something I go through every single day because I think the workflow that you have is very important and a lot of it comes with time. For me, I still haven't figured out everything because I haven't done everything related to the game making process yet. So this is a bit preliminary, if you will, but I still wanted to get something out there just to show a little bit of what I am doing. I think game development is pretty interesting because you have a game, and a game is a bunch of different things. So here we are as developers, here we are as people who enjoy games. Some of us have to work with many different hats to tackle each and every aspect of the game. How you kind of go back and forth could become pretty important as you realize just how many different things you might be working with. So that's what I wanted to show, just a little bit of my day-to-day. I want to keep things pretty simple, pretty straightforward, so let's just jump right into it. So first things first, believe it or not, I don't actually start with Godot, I start with notes. And notes can be something as simple as just typing out whatever I feel like, whatever I'm thinking inside Google Sheets, or it could be on just a piece of paper. And the primary purpose of this step is for me to get my thoughts into writing so that I can easily reference them when I need to. I don't think there's a right way or a wrong way to take notes. Especially for me, when I'm thinking about notes, I think of it as more of a creative process, and I differentiate it from the task-related notes, like making lists and stuff. When it's just creative notes, then it's just ideas, stuff that I don't want to forget, but that I might not actually implement or work on. And as soon as I have an idea in my head, now I can choose to work inside Sprite, my art software of choice, or I can work in Godot. I think both are valid options, and depending on the stage of the project that you're working on, it will probably favor one over the other. But let me start with Sprite. I think game development, the infrastructure is built using the code, using the engine, and I think the world is built using the art. And so it's different sides to the same coin. It matters so much, and so there's a lot of things that I'm going to be doing inside Sprite. It's basically almost always open when I'm working. And the kind of back and forth is whenever there's an idea, you want to flesh it out. The further I get into my game, the less I realize that I need to use prototype placeholders in my game. I would rather take the first stab at what I want something to look like, how I imagine something to be, so that I can already get myself into the process of visualizing and confirming that I like the design or not. So because I created an asset, I'm going to be using that asset, but then I have to support it inside Godot, inside the game engine. So then I have to create nodes, I have to create a scene hierarchy, I have to maybe create a texture rect or an animation player, or I have to create code. So it's always going to be this back and forth where you create something and then you're going to need the next part of it, which is from the other software. If you're working on Godot or the game engine, then you're going to have to work on your art and your assets. And then once that's complete, then you bring it back in and then you work on there until you require something else. And so that is the big triangle, the ideation into the art creation into the game implementation. And before I jump into sound effects and making music, I wanted to touch briefly on productivity. That's the part of the workflow that a lot of people focus on. And I just want to say simply that there might be a ton of different tools, a ton of different ways to focus or manage your time and your tasks. I prefer the simple ones, and I guess I don't have a set productivity thing that I like to use. I like to go between handwritten notes, Google Sheets, and sometimes Trello. I think those are the three that I bounce between depending on how I feel each one is working for me. Because at the end of the day, no matter what it is If it's to boost my productivity, then I better feel that it's actually helping me rather than hindering me. So say I'm bouncing back and forth between Sprite and Godot, working on the code, working on the art, back and forth, and then I finally got into a place where I need to implement more, which might be sound effects. So sound effects, music, these are all pretty big parts of the game as well. It's more on the artistic side, it's more about the world creation. And so for this, just finding sound effects online, maybe Pixabay, whatever you guys use. And then for me to bring it into different software such as Audacity, which is free and very simple to use. And then you can kind of cut, splice, fade, or whatever you're working with until you get something that sounds pretty good to you. And then of course, it's always the creative software, and then you have to bring it back into the implementation software. Creative software back into implementation. That's kind of how it goes. And so just like with sound effects will be music. For making music, I have been doing that inside Logic, and I think unfortunately, Sprite, Logic, any of these big softwares is going to be difficult to learn. It feels like you're tackling another Godot, or tackling a new thing. When you're thinking about making your game, you're gonna have to take into account that each of these areas need to you need to have an answer for them. Maybe the art gets offloaded, maybe the music gets offloaded. You gotta pick and choose, or you could do all. But each of these components are very big and key to making your game. And once you finish making inside Logic or whatever DAW that you're using, then you can bring it back into Godot, the game engine, for implementation. So in case you haven't heard it enough, there is this recurring theme of making something, bringing it in. Making something, bringing it in. The reason why is so that you can quickly identify how the direction is going. Making an asset, bringing it in, testing it will give you a direction for whether or not you need to make another asset. Maybe you need to change the theme, maybe you need to change the story, maybe you need to change the music, maybe you need to change the mechanics. Each of these things need to be brought in and then implemented for you to figure out the next step. And that is it for now. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys have a good one. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.